Tadlib. One, two, three, four, five. Good. Well, it is that 1 hour where we talk business internationally, to the counties and to the smallest of towns. A very good afternoon. Thank you for making time for us. Welcome to the day's counter. I am Abubakar Abdullahi. We have a lot lined up for you, inclusive of an ambitious plan from Nyeri to the crash site in Ethiopia. But first, let's get to the performance of the shilling against major currencies this day. Well, moving on, the prices of blue chip companies, the otherwise companies that generally sell high quality and widely accepted products and services that make up the Nairobi Security Exchange NSE 20 shares index, have dropped to a 10-year low, reflecting investors' expectations of depressed earnings for the listed firms. The market traders also say that local institutional investors are concerned about the unpredictable swing in the earning posted by listed companies. Moving on, locals who live and farm around the Ethiopian airline crash site are raising concern over what they term as false promises. The locals say that they were promised development in the area, but that is yet to come. Last week, Boeing angered families in Ethiopia and Kenya by offering $100 million through local government supporting aids to passengers that were killed in the crash.
Locals living around the site where an Ethiopian Airlines plane crashed in March say they are not happy with the pace at which various issues concerning the area are being handled after the air disaster. The crash killed 157 people, brought a global suspension of Boeing 737 MAX aircraft, and left a charred, debris-strewn crater in the field near the town of Bishoftu, southeast of Addis Ababa, the capital. 4 months later, local residents like farmer Tefsai Mulatu wonder what has happened to several promises they say were made about bringing development to the area around the site. Mulatu says he heard that a clinic and road would be built.
We thought they would deliver on their promises this year. We hear a lot of promises, but nothing has been delivered yet.
Flight 302 crashed minutes after takeoff, leaving a hole 10 meters deep. The impact and fire left the plane in small fragments and destroyed the bodies of any passengers, leaving only remains. Coming 5 months after another fatal crash involving Boeing 737 MAX 8 passenger jet in Indonesia, Ethiopia's disaster has sparked a crisis in the international aviation industry. Boeing's woes are not the pressing issue for people like local militia leader and farmer Melka Geleto. Unlike Mulatu, his farmland rests inside the zone demarcated around the sites. He says he is still waiting for compensation, along with several other members of the community who had signed documents presented by officials.
At first, it only involved land belonging to 2 people. Now I hear that the area where the federal police are stationed is also out of bounds, which makes it 3. On the other side, there are 7 people whose land has been demarcated. The total number of landowners affected is now 10.
Boeing 737 MAX disasters have killed a total of 346 people, triggered the global grounding of the aircraft, and wiped billions off Boeing's market value. The families of the victims have criticized Boeing's plans to donate $100 million to unspecified charities and communities affected by the 2 crashes, saying it was too vague and that families should have been consulted first. Boeing said the multi-year payout was not connected to the lawsuits that more than 100 families have filed against it.
Well, from Ethiopia, let's get back to Kenya. Treasury has approached international banks to arrange a 150 billion syndicate loan to partly finance this year's budget. A private document circulated among banks indicates that Kenya is seeking about 150 billion shillings. Well, over the years, family businesses and family-run businesses have contributed up to 60% of Kenya's economy. Panesa Center has been in existence for the last 70 years and has grown beyond bounds and hips. Today, in a continuation of yesterday's feature on family business, Vanessa Ndavi tells us more.
Staining the wood. That's what gives it the color.
Before the actual color.
No, this is the actual color. So it's a natural, this is a natural wood, but you can obviously color natural wood also, which is known as staining. Before they get put across.
By hand.
Yeah. We obviously have like technology that focuses on everything. This is a 32-year-old chair.
30.
That's come back for rehab.
It is still good as new. I would go and sell it for good price.
There's actually a couple of chairs like this. So this is an old item, I know, which has come back for rehab. Those are all the sofas that have come back from the Nairobi Serena for rehab.
Ah, yeah. So this is a packing department.
This is essentially where items are stocked before they get delivered to clients. So everything covered is awaiting delivery.
It's sold out.
It's pretty much sold. Everything that's covered is sold, waiting for delivery. For our client, yeah.
Respect. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Oh my God.
So, this is where the magic happens. This is essentially our joinery department.
I'm not so bad, even though I'm a girl. We're not big.
I'll take you to somewhere you'd like.
Huh?
You have teak, which comes in from South Sudan. Camphor is now banned, but you still get from time to time. Mavuli is a local timber. Palmwood is a local timber, but again, you have to be very kind of like careful with the quality you get of palmwood. Mahogany is obviously not from Kenya. You get a little bit of Meru oak nowadays from wherever we get the Meru oak from. The walnut comes in all the way from Brazil. Podo. Again, not a lot of Podo, but you do get some local Podo as well nowadays. And then cypress, which is a softwood, not a solid, which is not a hardwood, it's a softwood.
Veer says that when you run a family business, you have to lead as an example to your employees.
When you do run your own business, you can make personal decisions, but it's a reflection again on the team that you have. You have to, I'm the first person at work every single day. I'm also, my father sometimes is the last person at work. So we open shop and we close shop, even though we have people doing it for us.
A disciplined life is all about growth, right? The biggest thing in life is how do you discipline your own self. And once you have disciplined yourself, then of course you can expect a lot from your own self. Because it's about bringing yourself, right? And now, once you discipline yourself, you have to discipline the people around you.
Having been in the business for the last 70 years, the Panesar family has seen a need of starting a training center. And as Veer and I take a walk around the enterprise, he shares with me the plans to have a such training center.
The objective that we're trying to teach the children is how to understand drawings, because that's a key thing that people forget in this industry. People may be shown how to make a door. This is how you make a door. But then if you're given a drawing, how do you see details and how do you write it? And that's where education comes in, your literature and how to understand dimensions and drawings, how things should be fixed, the cost of it, etc.
So you have all the students from 9.
This is a small classroom, yeah.
There's more?
There's
classes.
a lot more, yeah.
There's more classes.
We obviously have a class with Don Bosco. Don Bosco has a training center for us. NITA, the big NITA center, also has it. So we have two other training facilities for the police training students.
It's been a dream to teach people skills. So that's what we are doing right now. And would really, really want to work hard on it and produce, at least a dozen skilled people a year.
Which some of them you may pretend that
Well, I think most of them, not some of them, will be, because, my people working with me, my older people, are going old. They would love to retire. And to fill that gap, so we need those skills to fill that gap. And hopefully we should be able to start, as soon as we start doing this, if we start doing 20, 22 guys, 24 guys in a year, and we'll slowly be able to start doing more.
Panesar says that the growing in size is something that they're not interested in. However, they eye to nurture more talents and create employment.
Now, what would give you more satisfied of young people telling the world that yes, they were trained there? Where did you learn this? People would be asking questions, right? We should be able to give people certificates that yes, they got trained here and they got trained to that particular level. And that would be satisfying. It's giving back what you have. That's more satisfying.
Then eventually, once we develop our curriculum, we're looking at bringing a standard British carpentry and joinery curriculum on board, so you can eventually be a certified carpenter.
Veer's father says he has confidence in his son to run the business and fit in his shoes.
Veer is capable of doing it, he can do it, but the risk factor is bigger. Though he has people around which can advise him, right from his production and finances and marketing, he's got people around him who can actually advise him what to do. He would be able to manage if he has to, right? If just drop it and give it to him, he'll be able to manage. A tough year, but then he should be all right.
As long as Panesar continues running whilst I'm alive, I'm happy. Whether my children want to get into it or not, I will obviously try and get them into the business. I would love them to get into the business. But like I said, I don't want to be the one that lets the Panesar name go down. It's not going to go down under my name, for sure.
And what does it take to run a family business?
You have to be very straightforward in the objectives that each person handles. and very clear about your job roles. Me and my father obviously have that understanding of what he's supposed to do and what I'm supposed to do. But I also think the communication that you have then with the people who work under you need to be very clear. They need to understand who's in charge, what they're in charge of. If your people don't know what you're doing, then there's a problem.
And as for Moni, who admires his dad to date, he says, for one to succeed in anything, discipline is key.
It's all about disciplining yourself and all that, okay, guys, life is big thing about, just your own discipline, but it's all about your own self, really. What you want to do in life, I don't think it's about an employer. You get to a job knowing what you want out of it. And you got into it knowingly that what you're getting into. So if you're going to complain about it, what you're doing, what are you complaining about? You chose to do it, right? And if you're not enjoying it, leave it, move on to something else.
Work without pay makes Jack a dull boy, and Veer takes a step back when he needs to relax and enjoy his life.
I have a small addiction. It's no longer a small addiction, it's now a large addiction. It's called golf. It's a very, very bad thing for people. I would suggest they don't get into it because it's highly addictive. I can't go a week without playing a round of golf, which is now becoming a problem. I get itchy when I haven't played golf.
In a minute, it takes me a minute to go to sleep. I've done my day's work, right? When I go to bed, I have to put my head on the pillow and I'm gone. Really.
The passion and enjoyment of carpentry keeps the Panacea going, and just like picking a beautiful piece of timber and turning it to a state of art provides satisfaction and inspirations for generations to come.
My father is very happy coming to the office. Like I said earlier, it's a very passion-driven business. He enjoys being at work. He enjoys coming to work in the morning. He enjoys the responsibility he has as the chairman of Paneses.
I have been designing things on my own, which I still do till today, right? Make job cards, go through the actual production of the whole thing, right? Just seeing the wood, when we buy timber, it's just in log form. Convert it into timber, which you have been through, right? And seeing that timber taking shape.
And as always, remember, when you feel like quitting, think about why you started. Join me next week for yet another exciting episode of Family Business. I've been your host, Vanessa Ndavi. Keep it TV47, the home of untold stories.
Well, many thanks, Vanessa Ndavi, for that detailed report. And just a reminder that inspiring family business-related stories as well will be coming on your way on the show Biashara za Familia that weekly runs here on TV47. Make time and watch that. It may just inspire and add you a few coins. Moving on. Volunteering is one of the many topics many avoid. Well, on a day to celebrate good deeds, the youth and all concerned parties have been encouraged to do the little they can to promote goodness. Our reporter James Kimani attended the second Good Deed conference and has compiled the following.
Well, I'm coming to you from the Boma Hotel here in South Sea, where the Good Deeds Day conference is currently happening. This year's theme is leveraging corporate volunteering, or rather doing a world of good, leveraging corporate volunteering, youth engagement and partnership for Africa's social economic growth, and basically it's just matters on volunteering. And right now I'll be bringing into the conversation Mr. Mark Rachonyo and Frederick Salia, who will be trying and giving us insights on what is basically happening. Maybe you can step into and Mark can come as well. So we'll start by volunteering. The whole idea of volunteering at first. What am I supposed to get from it as a basic, as a normal mwananchi?
Thank you very much. First of all, we are happy to be here for this second Africa Regional Conference. I think you may want to allow me first to define volunteerism and to indicate to our viewers that Kenya as a country and the host of this conference has got a definition of volunteerism, which we design as, if I may paraphrase it, is the giving of one's or a community or a group of people's time to support or offer free services and techno to a particular community for the enhancement of that particular community without the expectation of any financial gain other than a bit of the reimbursement that can be given to the volunteer to facilitate the work that they're doing.
You mentioned without financial gain, which is a topic by itself we can go deeper into. But let me bring Mark into the topic. Mark, you work for the Mount Kenya University, and you have also worked in other universities. Maybe are we encouraging, do universities in Kenya encourage such kind of volunteering work to be done, or where are we lagging behind in it?
Thank you so much, and I'm glad to be here. One thing that we want to ensure is that all the institutions should try as much as possible to look at community engagement, because they operate within the community. Now, every institution, like for example, universities have a big number of students that need to at least change the community where they come from. So we are looking at community service at the university level for university students. We're looking at the faculty members or professionals also coming up to help or to do something that will change the communities where they come from. Now, people would always ask, why is it that people are not being paid for this? One thing is that in your life, you should try to do something that will impact or change somebody's life without expecting any kind of payment or reimbursement. And in this case, you can do it in education. You can pick a few guys, a few young people, mentor them, train them, and let them also go to the community and change. You can also work as a professional in the health sector. Probably in a month or in a year, you should do something that will change the lifestyle of people. For example, if you're a dentist, is there something that you can do? Yes, there is. There are a lot of things that you can do. You can visit communities that have dental problems, and you just advise them. If it is something that you cannot really do by yourself, now you advise them to go. So in my view, having been the dean of students and knowing the challenges that the community go through, it is important that the government or the regulator of the universities try to instill in the mindset of administrators that community service should be there. And it is a voluntary process that will be able to change these people. When they grow up, they will just look for something to do. And that will actually change what we do in our society as a country.
Mark, for many countries, we see like the abroad countries, we see like universities come when there's something that has happened, like a disaster has stricken somewhere. University come, students come and support. Why is it that in Kenya we have things that happen, yet no one from the university can stand up and maybe help in one way or another?
Now, the challenge has been the mentality and the attitude. And we expect the government to do everything, which is not right. Now, we have, if, for example, you go to Nairobi University, how many students you have? Over 60,000. If you go to Kenyatta National Hospital, you may miss blood. And there are people who are healthy, they are strong, they can donate 1 pint of blood and help have it stored. So in case there's an emergency, the need, it can be collected. The challenge is very simple. Who is coordinating these activities? And who is supposed to give the whistle when there's a need. And we always act when there's an emergency, but it should be in your heart. I remember when I was in high school, we were told that within 3 months you must donate blood at least once, right? And that was a good thing. But since things get politicized and the people who come in with different ideas do not want to follow that, it brings in a challenge. So we need a strong person who will coordinate these activities in all areas, like, for example, what Red Cross is doing. But it should not only be at times of emergencies. We need to focus and look at any other time and what you can do. Any person has something that they can do. which will impact on somebody's life.
Well, any person has something that they can do, but before you give us your point, you can give us your point, and let's get to the financial aspect of it, because most youth in this country are not that financially able. So when you tell someone to volunteer, they look at you with that face. Like, why are you telling me to do this and you're not giving me any help by the end of it? How are you, what rather are you doing to make sure that the volunteer is getting something by the end of it?
True. First of all, just to add on to what my friend Mark is saying, I want to indicate that there's been a lot of positive response these days, and the young people, the old people alike are coming up, seldom slowly, but they're coming up to be able to support, not only in terms of need, which is always the norm, but even on self-propulsion, that people are still willing to go out there and reach out to situations which are needy. I will tell you for a fact, because I work with young people in virtually all the universities in Kenya. We have a huge platform, and we call ourselves the GDD VIO Volunteer Champions. They're guys who take initiative on their own. They don't wait to be called, and they go out there into the community and do an array of activities supporting or intended to uplift the communities. But back to financing and volunteerism, as it were. I want to state here that volunteerism is not a preserve for the young people. Volunteerism is for every one of us, every citizen, including the presidents, the prime minister, and all the ministers or cabinet secretaries you may have across the nations of Africa. So the notion has always been that it is something for the young who maybe just graduated or wound up high school, who do not have anything to do. That is a fallacy. The truth of the matter, or the fact of the matter, is that volunteerism is just being a responsible citizen. Someone who is responsive, someone who is concerned about making a positive impact. Someone wants to see change. And as I've always been told, that the change I want to see has to begin with me. And so when we look into the financing, we can come as a team of old or retirees who are of diverse skills. Then we say, I am a doctor, retired, yes. You are a lawyer, retired, yes. You are a teacher, retired. Let's go back to our communities, like what friend Mark Challenge is asking, who is ever attempted to go back to the schools where they learned and tried even to influence change from that level. So it is never about the money. Of course, we appreciate the fact that we need the monies to do it, because even now, as we are globally looking at reimagining volunteerism, financing is very critical, how we will be able to support, including in when we narrow down to the young people now, fresh graduates, or those who have just wound up their high school, they need to be facilitated. And this is why we say, when we are responsive as a people, then we need facilitation. So someone would come and say, or a company would come and say, or an organization can set up a budget aside to say, for those who are willing to do this kind of a particular activity, for example, in mitigating climate change or something like this, we can support by this. And that is there. I can tell you there is always someone who is willing, or a company who is willing to commit resources for the people who are able to take initiative on their own and go out there. And so we want to demystify the fact that volunteerism is just for the jobless, or for people who are able and having the finances, the philanthropists. No, volunteerism is for each and every one of us. And I would take you straight to the National Volunteerism for Kenya, for example, that it states and outlines the categories of volunteers. Who are the volunteers? The retirees, the older persons, the students, the professionals. Each and every one of us has a role to play. It is about, do I want to change my nation? Do I want to change the continent of Africa? Then rise up, do something. There will always be someone willing to support.
Among the thing, when you look at the theme, there's that aspect of the social economic growth. Yes. We have in Kenya the Vision 2030, we have the SDGs that we are trying to make sure that by the time it gets here, by the time that to 2030 gets here, we'll have covered some of these things that are happening. What role is volunteering playing in it?
I will tell you that a UN resolution has acknowledged volunteerism as a cross-cutting means of implementation across all sectors. And states, corporates, the civil society, development agencies, each one of us are encouraged to partner to ensure that we can work towards a common goal, looking at the global development goals, Agenda 2030, but also narrowing down to our own development strategies at national level, and also looking at, even for Africa, the Agenda 2063 for African continent. And the reason for why is that you look today, and the resource that is renewable is human resource. Africa has the largest of it. We are looking at 2050 when Africa will have a population of 180 million young people. What will they be able to do? So we are thinking that if this is a renewable resource, then we can have it for the longer. Money come and go. But the people who are willing and determined to change the societies within which they live can always be willing to give a little bit of their time and as well be able to commit.
Well, rather do good, however small it is. On that note, we are taking a short break here on the Day's Counter. Up next, my colleague Lucy Riley will be speaking to filmmakers about the business in film. We'll be back after this break.
It's celebration time at the largest private university in East Africa, Mount Kenya University. Join us as we hold our 16th graduation ceremony on 9th August 2019 at Happy Valley Grounds, Thika, starting 9 a.m. The chief guest will be Professor Raymond Macharia, a scientific and educational researcher at the University of London. Come and learn the role of universities in enhancing sustainable development through community outreach programs. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities.
Nilipogundua ya kwamba nimepoteza uwezo wa kuona, nilikuwa mwenye kukasirika sana. Nilikuwa na huzuni.
I wish that the people know what security matters is to each and everybody.
Mzae wakati alianzia kitabu alikuwa anafanya, alikuwa shamba boy mahali. Hapo ndio alikuwa shughuli pilika kapatana na hii hapo. Bado na yeye akafuta kazi mahali alikuwa. Alifutwa kazi. Akaona hakuna otherwise. Si akaishia kuwa mechanic. Later akaanzia kufanya apples. Hapo sasa ndiye alichukulia na akaendelea na safari yake apples.
Wakati nilipelekea watu wa Nation wa kule wale waandishi wa magazeti wa Nation wakaniuliza, wewe unaitwa Wabogo sasa hii matunda unanunua ukiletea ukitoa wapi? Nikawaambia sasa navuna kwa nyumbani. Wakaniambia niwache upuzi. Kwa ajili walijua matunda inatoka Israeli ama Tanzania. Nikawaambia sasa ni kwangu hapa Nyeri.
Gazeti alinunuliwa gazeti kama 4 na watu wale wanakaanga town. Hata zile zinakujaga hapo kwa duka, mtu akipata anakimbia na anamletea.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for actually staying with us here at the Day's Counter. Thank you so much, Abdullahi Abubakar, for that excellent presentation on the business news today. Now in studio with us, I have Kimani Wandaka and I also have Alice Kombani, who will be demystifying for us the business of film industry. So thank you so much for being in studio with us. First of all, karibuni sana.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So let's just get started. Anyone who is looking to enter this particular space of being in filmmaking, production, pre-production, post-production, until distribution and sales, where do you start off? So maybe I can start with yourself.
Okay, someone who is looking to get into the industry of film. Okay, there's a number of ways you can get into the industry. Okay, personally, for me, it was, I started making a few films, then I went to school, I did a course in filmmaking, and then got into the industry proper and worked with a few filmmakers within the industry. And then basically you will have to gain the skill, gain experience, and then start proving yourself within the industry. Yeah. So that's my path. But people have different paths. Some have never went to school, but they got the experience from the beginning, worked with people who already experienced, made movies, just made their way up slowly until they got to a point where they are like fully fledged filmmakers. Yes.
All right. Sorry. So Alice, are you of the same opinion actually?
Yes, I am. I also went to school, film school, so probably that's the same direction that I used. But he went to engineering school before he got to film school.
Okay.
So he diverted. I also did. I was also an educator. I had a degree in education. Then I decided to venture into film. But I think the best filmmakers that we know in the world right now just immerse themselves in the world of film. I think that's the best way. Just doing the thing. Yeah.
Right. So can we just take it back a notch? I mean, when you're thinking of the film industry here in this Kenyan African contest, we're thinking of, Papa Shirandula. We think of actors that are very familiar with us. And we don't really see the scale of how big this particular industry is because we're not really, or Kenya, or individuals in Kenya are not really beginning to scratch what's the potential of this space. So talk to us about the potential of it, especially when it comes to creating of the films and making of the movies and series and whatever it is that might actually be entailed.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Well, when it comes to potential is a heavy word that we've been throwing around for a very long time. And we have been doing film, not just personally myself, but even our predecessors. They've been doing films, and all these films, you can find them online. You see, it's just that we need to shift the space. The films are there. Yeah, the potential has been there and people have made the films. I can talk about the likes of Big Ideas films, Akina Willie Owusu, who did films in like early 2000s, late 90s. And those films are online, but they just never got to mainstream media. So what I think is that as much as we're talking about potential, we have been making the films. And when I say we, I mean Kenyans in general. Up to this point, many filmmakers don't have like the mainstream platform as an option. So they make films and the films are circulated online. And that is its own industry. Yeah, there are festivals, there are awards, even in Kenya. And it's a way to go. But the problem is that it's not that commercial. You don't really make money out of it.
Right.
But the films are there, people watch them, we get feedback, and we improve as we keep making the films.
Maybe Alice, you can actually tell me then, how then do you begin to make money out of a film that you produced in order for it to actually make sense for you financially? And producing a film costs money, and then you'd hope to get returns out of it. So really, where do you draw the line, and at what point do you begin now to say that you have a return on your investment of going into producing and making a film, and it's giving you returns?
Thank you. I think, first of all, I want to correct you. There's TV and then there's film. Film is another genre altogether. And it's, I don't know if I can say it has, I think, more work because it's not like, it's something that it is invested in. For example, guys like Tarantino, I'm just mentioning these people and they're not Kenyan, but because they're doing it the best way possible and they're making money out of it. And probably we're looking up to them to do the same. So on the journey of making money with film, for me, personally, I would say this is the first year that I'm going to do a professional film that I will make money out of. Not that I haven't gone to the whole route of trying to make money, but this is when I'm focusing on that marketing aspect of making my film. And for me, and this is entirely different from whatever Kimani thinks about, because he's a colleague and we've talked about this, is that I think cinema is the place to go, to just sell tickets and to make people come and watch cinema. Yeah.
So why then would it be the way to go? And now that he's even mentioned that people are moving on to, or not getting enough airtime rather on mainstream media, and then you would actually propose and encourage going for the cinema route. Why so?
It is a road that has not been traveled, especially in Kenya. It's something that has not been ventured into. Like I don't think we've invested enough time in the cinema to just close it off and say this is not what we're going to do. We actually made a film with him, my first short film, and it screened at Anga. It's called Anga.
Yeah,
Anga IMAX. Yeah, yeah. We went there and we got some traction. People came in and saw our movies. It was not the best movie. We were actually still in school, so I think there's hope in that. And then we didn't even do a marketing, the marketing aspect, because what we've been doing is that we've been practicing our production and we haven't done our marketing. And there are people who are supposed to be specialists in that. And this is what I want to do with this. My next film is called Pillow Talk. It's going to be released in February next year. And this is what I want to do, like do the whole journey, do the marketing of the film and take it there. But first of all, I have to make a product that I believe in, and a very good product, which when I tell you to come in and watch it, it's for 1,000 shillings, you'd be like, yeah. Yeah.
Right. So thank you for actually pointing out that, you know, it's when you look at it from the business aspect, it is a product that you're looking to sell to actually satisfy the need of a customer, and in terms of actually the viewing, the actual film itself. But when you're in the process of making this particular film, there are challenges that you actually face, and these challenges can hold you back, but you still nonetheless go ahead to make this film. So talk to me about some of the things that have been a hindrance in really growing as a brand, really in this Kenyan market.
Okay, personally, and I don't think it's just to me, but I think funding is a big problem. Just being able to get investors to invest in your film, and from that point onwards you can collaborate with professional marketing, professional distribution agencies, exhibitors like the cinemas, and online marketing platforms. Yeah, just at the end of the day, it all falls back to the beginning, where it is you have to start with your capital. Yeah. What we have is we have the skills and the know-how to make the production and make the product. Yeah. But that's where we usually get stuck. Yeah. So the biggest challenge is the funding, so that with the funding we can be able now to spend some money on marketing, spend some money on getting the right distribution channels, just have a fully fledged production. That's what I think. That's the biggest challenge in my opinion.
Alice, do you agree with this, that you get stuck after now the production and really are unable to move forward into the next step of finding those distributors and actually selling whatever content that you've actually already created, or even getting people to come in and watch the final film? Do you agree that that's the major challenge?
I do. I agree with it, because it's something that we've done. We've made films and we have them in our laptops, we have them in our hard disks, and we haven't shown them to anyone else apart from our friends. And our feedback, probably just to make ourselves better. And with every film that we get to make, we try and make it better. And this is when, like, it's been 4 years after school. This is when we're trying to make it work and make it an employment avenue for us and other people who are artists. Because film is not a one-man show. There's a whole team behind you, and these people, you have to pay them, and that has not been happening. Okay, we are not paying them as well as we should. Yeah, because I'm talking as a producer right now, and he's also a producer. He's made films as well. I agree with him about that. I think something else that I'd like to add is about policy. Kenyans, the art is not the best thing to ever happen in Kenya, because there's some things which are not, for example, equipment, they're highly taxed. It's more of a luxury item, and for us it's a lifestyle. Like, it's something that we want to do to make it something that like a living. It's not something, it's not the same way that you'd like to start a business tomorrow. It's not something you do that. For us, it's taken a long time. For example, this is the year that we've been able to buy equipment that we can call ours. He bought a camera. So what we do is that we come together and use our resources. And it's taken us years, because these things cost millions. Yeah. So policy is one of them, yeah.
Right.
And permits. Like it's illegal to shoot in Nairobi.
That's true.
We don't have papers.
Now, you've actually spoken a little bit, just taking you back on the earlier conversation, that you actually mentioned marketing has really helped and the method and the means in which you use to market. Any business that's looking to grow, whether sole proprietorship, an individual or a company, really the marketing is so important. So talk to me about the ways and means that you've been able to use in order to actually share with your networks, to let them know of what it is that you produce and how they can actually take advantage of this for anyone who is looking to enter this particular space, because now you understand what has worked and what doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me get you're asking what platforms we've used for marketing our
Yes, or rather even which marketing strategies, whether online or offline, that have actually worked for you, because the same particular product might actually be successful with one method and a totally different one will not have the same kind of success. So it's not to say that we assume that all things work with one particular method. And so what really has worked?
Okay, for me, I would say that the last film I produced was called Teke Teke. It was a short 10-minute film, and since it's not a film that I'm going to screen at the theater, I just decided that this will be an online film, and I did as much as I could to get people to watch it online. Yeah. So, for me, it was all about creating a buzz before the film finally dropped. I decided that the marketing strategy I would use was, from the beginning, from the point where we are on the script, I would start sending content out there that just gives our audience an idea that something is coming. So it was a completely online marketing strategy.
Right.
Yeah. So I built from that. After that, while shooting content, just keeping people interested. And then by the time we are coming to the actual release of the film, because I released it online on YouTube, I used the YouTube Premiere option, where you tell people in advance that your film will screen at a certain time, and while the film is screening, we will be available, which is myself, the producer, director, and the cast, to answer questions, engage with the viewers, and just make them feel like a part of the film, because that is the direction I'm going with.
Right, so online actually work for you. Maybe for a final question, because our time is quite actually running out, this can go to Alice. Tell me really what it is that you do in order to stay relevant and ensure that whatever you're producing really meets the needs of those who will come and view what you're watching, that they're actually continue to stay interested, they'll continue to show up, and they'll continue to be that the audience that views and comes to watch what it is that you're producing. So how do you really ensure that you stay relevant and within the same space?
Wow, that's a beautiful one. I think for us, we're not competing with anyone because we're telling our own stories. That's the most beautiful and the strongest thing that we have. And we're not competing with Hollywood, we're not competing with whatever the Asians are bringing in. And we have not even scratched the surface. So if it's a story about you and me, you'll always want to listen and you'll always want to be a part of. So that is something that works for us. And we haven't even gotten there yet. I don't believe we have. For example, this year we have like 5 feature films that are showing that will be released probably the end of this year and next year. And we are all rallying towards that. It's not my production, but I'm rallying again towards people coming to watch these movies because it's about me, it's about them, it's our stories. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Alice and Mr. Kimani, for actually joining us in this particular show, The Days Counter. My name is Lucy Riley. I've been your host, and I've also been hosting with Abubakar Abdullahi. Do join us tomorrow, same time, same place, 3 to 4 o'clock here on TV47, and follow us on all the social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV47KE, and follow me at Lucy_Riley with the hashtag DaysCounterKE.
It's celebration time at the largest private university in East Africa, Mount Kenya University. Join us as we hold our 16th graduation ceremony on 9th August 2019 at Happy Valley Grounds, Thika, starting 9 a.m. The chief guest will be Professor Raymond Macharia, a scientific and educational researcher at the University of London. Come and learn the role of universities in enhancing sustainable development through community outreach programs. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities. It's celebration time at the largest private university in East Africa, Mount Kenya University. Join us as we hold our 16th graduation ceremony on 9th August 2019 at Happy Valley Grounds, Thika, starting 9 a.m. The chief guest will be Professor Raymond Macharia, a scientific and educational researcher at the University of London. Come and learn the role of universities in enhancing sustainable development community outreach programs. Mount Kenya University.